Hello my spider friends. Today we are going to be talking about the classic sci-fi TV series Babylon 5. It's just been announced J. Michael Straczynski, the original creator, is rebooting the series, and because of the Babylon 5 curse, obviously it's going to have an entirely new cast. So this is my speculative list of people who would be good in the parts. It's all up in the air right now. JMS has said like he will not discuss anything. He's not discussing whether the characters of Sheridan and Sinclair will be merged together, or Talia and Lita, as was like originally intended. It was supposed to be like one character, one thing led to another, a separate character had to be created. Now, if you are not familiar with the Babylon 5 curse, which I don't even know why you'd be watching this video if you weren't, the cast has a high death rate. Of the main cast, 7 of them are dead. This is a show that launched in '93. To give it like a comparison, Star Trek Deep Space Nine launched like the year after, and they are on 2 dead cast members. Star Trek The Next Generation, which was '89, they've lost no one. To put it in perspective, Star Trek the original series, which is from the 60s, they've only lost James Doohan, DeForest Kelley, Leonard Nimoy. The rest are all still with us, and that's a show from like the 60s. So, you know, people do say like the show is cursed. So whether or not any original cast members would want to come back that are still with us it's entirely up in the air. So I'm a big fan of Babylon 5. I actually came to it through its spin-off Crusade, and the character of Galen and his gigantic chin sort of intrigued me enough so that my friend had all of Babylon 5, and I was like, okay, lend me the DVDs. And I watched them all, and I was like, all right, I concede it's an excellent, excellent sci-fi show. So I want to discuss with you what we could possibly see cast-wise in a Babylon 5 remake. If you want me to talk about what we could do plot-wise in a Babylon 5 remake, let me know in the comments. So, it's not entirely straightforward. I've got a few options for some of the characters. For example, the lead character, which is Sheridan/Sinclair, because we don't know what he's going to do, so these people could play one or the other, or both, combined in a sort of meshed version of the character. So my first actual thought was Timothy Olyphant, who you may know from such things as Deadwood, Scream 2, The Santa Clarita Diet, The Mandalorian. Timothy Olyphant's an actor who's been around for a really long time, but probably doesn't have the name recognition that he should, because he's just a really excellent actor. So here's a picture of him. And my next choice was going to be Nathan Fillion. Picture. So my thinking on like Nathan Fillion is, you know, he was, he's like the right age, he's like really charismatic. Oh, look at me fringe, I'm turning into Cousin It. I need to get this cut. You know, he's really charismatic on screen. He's got a really good range. Just like my first encounter with Nathan Fillion was when it was on Buffy, and he did the thumb thing to Xander's eye, and I couldn't watch Nathan Fillion in anything for a really long time because of that, because I found his performance so disturbing I couldn't watch him in anything. It wasn't until like he popped up in Castle I was finally able to watch him in stuff, because he'd like, sorry Nathan, he'd gained a little bit of weight, so he looked different enough so that it wasn't traumatizing me anymore thinking about the whole like thumb thing. David Boreanaz, picture. David Boreanaz, my thinking on him was that he's like a similar background to Bruce Boxleitner. And again, he's just a good actor. He's got a good range, so I could see him playing like Sinclair or Sheridan, but like I think he'd be good in either way, and I like David Boreanaz, so he would be my other choice. And then I had an outside thought and picture Christian Slater. Like, Christian's had a bit of a TV renaissance in the past few years. I know he was like 80s and 90s movie heartthrob, and I've always loved Mr. Slater. But he is a gigantic nerd. He was in Star Trek 6 because he's a huge Star Trek fan, and I think he'd be really game to do the project. So Christian Slater, those are like my four choices for a male, Sinclair or Sheridan. But I also have a female choice, like an out there choice, just in case. I was thinking of like gender swapping, and it's Lena Headey. Picture. Lena Headey, you will probably know from such things as Game of Thrones, which is dead to me now. But Lena Headey is, again, an excellent actress. She's just fantastic. I could watch her in anything. I just admire her so much. She's such a fantastic actress, and I just can't praise her high enough. So I think if they were gonna recast the role completely with a female version of Sinclair / Sheridan, or even one or the other, have both characters but have Sinclair be like female and Sheridan be male, or the other way around, Sheridan be female and Sinclair be male. And I think Lena Headey would be the perfect choice for either or, because she's got such great screen presence. You watch her. She's a leading lady, and she's excellent. So thinking again of like doing some mixing up with the characters, because the original cast wasn't very diverse, I'm afraid. We're talking like one person of colour in the original main cast, at least. And that was the part of the Doctor, Dr. Franklin. But I could see that role again being recast as female. So, like, Henry Lennix was my first choice. Picture. Henry Lennix has been in many things. It's smaller roles. I think my favourite role that he had was his part in Dollhouse, which again, Joss Whedon, but like he's just so good, and I think he'd be great. He'd be a little bit older than the original actor, but there's something about Henry Lennix. Again, I think it's like his stage presence. Maybe it's because he's very tall, but he would be my first choice for a replacement Franklin. But if you were going to recast it in a female role, I've got two choices. I was going to do that and that didn't make sense. Two choices. Choice number one, Lauren Velez. Who you may know from such things as Dexter. She was La Guerta in Dexter. And my other choice is Judy Reyes. Who, of course, was Carla in Scrubs. I think there's no reason that Franklin could not be a female. Absolutely no reason whatsoever. And either of those actresses, I think, would be fantastic in the part, and it would be really interesting to see a different perspective on that character, and everything that they go through, assuming that it's going to be like a sort of a similar character development trajectory. That would be my choice. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Do you think that they should stay the way they are with like male to male, or could we gender swap a couple of roles? Could we race swap a couple of roles? Because again, Original cast, not that diverse. So some of my choices have tried to diversify. And that, of course, Ivanova is what we come to. And my choice for that is MingNa Wen. MingNa Wen is like a goddess. You may know her from such things as Mulan, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Street Fighter. She is just... she's in The Mandalorian and she's going to be in the Book of Boba Fett. If you don't know who MingNa Wen is, you've not been around long enough to know anything about Hollywood, because she's been around for a long time and she's an excellent, not only actress, but martial arts practitioner. The lady is just amazing, and I could totally see her as Ivanova, who is a very strong female character, but also is vulnerable. She goes through quite a roller coaster in the original Babylon 5, and I would want someone in that role who is a strong actress. Obviously, there's going to be some people in this who are unknowns, who I'm not familiar with, because life doesn't cast sort of A, B and C list actors in every role in TV shows. Sometimes you have to go with people who are a bit unknown. But I'm not a Hollywood agent here to find jobs for people who are completely unknown. I'm here to make a YouTube video. So, with that in mind, we are moving on to Mr. Garibaldi. And for that, I've gone slightly younger. Aldous Hodge. He was in Leverage, which I love. And if you've seen Leverage, you know that he has an absolutely fantastic range. And where he might be a little bit young, just a little bit young for the role, I feel like they could counteract that with how they dressed and styled him. So I don't think it's as big as an issue. And Aldous Hodge, I think, would be an excellent Garibaldi. Now, Zach Allen, originally played by Jeff Conaway, who was in Grease. So my thinking there led me to the choice of Matthew Morrison. You may know him from such things as Glee and other projects that weren't as popular as Glee. Basically, it was the musical connection of Jeff Conaway that led me to think of Matthew Morrison, but I do think he would make an excellent Zach Allen. Like, while he's not like a main character, he's like a main recurring character, so I had to include him on the list. For Talia Winters / Lita Alexander, because again, we don't know if those characters are going to be combined to be like one character, or if they're going to go with the separate characters, but I've only made one casting choice because this was like a really hard one, and the choice that I went with was Lily Rabb, who you may know from American Horror Story, plus other things as well, but American Horror Story is probably what you know her from. And if you've seen American Horror, you know that she is like, she's got a brilliant range, which is very important for the telepath type characters, and I think that she'd be a good choice. But I'm open on this one because this was a really hard casting choice, but not the hardest. The hardest for me was trying to choose someone perfect for Via Koto. Now, Via, my friend suggested John Bradley from Game of Thrones, but I think John Bradley's too young, and I think he's too puppy faced. You couldn't like make him look the right age, and I think it really does need to be an actor in their very late 30s, 40s, like at the youngest, really. And I went back and forth and round, and I tried to think of like maybe somebody who was going to be more diverse, but the only person who I could kind of come up with was an actor called Eric Peterson. Now, if you're not familiar with the show that Eric Peterson is currently on, it's a show called Kevin Can F Himself. It's on Amazon Prime in the UK. Not sure about the US, but I highly, highly recommend this show. And he really, really impressed me in that show, and I'd never come across him before. And thinking about him, I was like, yeah, he would actually do a good job with Via. So that's who I've gone with. My choice for Linnea is Stephen Yeun. From The Walking Dead, obviously. I think he'd be good. I think it'd be good to a diverse role. There's no reason that you couldn't have an actor of like Korean origin playing the role. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever. Obviously, the big, like, apart from the main character role, but like the biggest roles on the show are Jakar and Londor. Now, Jakar, you want an actor who has the stage presence of Andreas Katsulas, which was extremely difficult because the man was a mission unto himself. But I've got two choices for them, and it's either Mads Mikkelsen or David Harbour. Now, they now might be both too big to do TV, but like those would be my choices if I got to choose anybody. It would be either Mads or David Harbour, because they'd both be great. But my first choice was Mads, but then like David Harbour sort of snuck in there at the last minute as like actually who would be quite good in the role. So Londor, my choice for him, and my first and only choice, and it was the first person who actually came to mind, is Thomas Hayden Church. Now, you might not know the name, you probably recognise the face. Thomas Hayden Church was in such films as George of the Jungle, Sideways, more recently The Peanut Butter Falcon, but like he is an actor who I've liked for a very long time, ever since like Tank Girl, and I could just see him as Londor, and he's like the right age, and he's got the right look, and he would be my choice. So like if someone in the casting department happens to watch this, Thomas Hayden Church. And we're down to like the last three now. So the Marcus, which again is not a main character, but a main recurring character, becomes more main later seasons. But for Marcus, I would go with Tom Ellis, because he's super pretty, and that's pretty much my reasoning. It breaks my heart that we recently lost the actress who played Delenn, but I would go, and if we were going for a like-for-like casting, like an Eastern European actress, then it would have to be like Clarice Van Houten. Picture from Game of Thrones and other things as well, but mostly Game of Thrones. She would make an excellent Delenn. And then finally, of course, the big villain for the series, the character of Bester, originally played by Walter Koenig, aka Chekhov. And I've got two choices for this. And the first one that came to mind was like, I was like, how can you even begin to think about recasting? Oh, of course, Alan Tudyk. I don't even know what to do with you if you don't know Alan Tudyk, but Alan Tudyk would be an excellent choice to play Bester, and he would knock it out the park because he's just excellent. But I did have a second choice, and my second choice would be, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Giancarlo Esposito, who you may know from such shows as Community. Or what was that other one he was in? Oh, it had a chemist in it, and he was a little bit of a bad man, and he had some chickens. Can't remember the name of it, but, you know, like, let me know in the comments. So that's my list for a full Babylon 5 recast of, like, all of the main characters and all, like, the recurring characters that are, like, really important to the plot. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments if you have any other thoughts. And I would love to hear what you have to say.